Hour 3 on Seder on Sundays. Now, we had to wait 2 weeks to have the third hour because we don't want to blow out people's transistor radios. We had to make sure that we did it on a Memorial Day weekend. We want to overload the system, as it were. Let's get to the phones, 866-303-2270. Ethan from Portland, Oregon. Ethan, I feel so comfortable talking to you now because I know you're not supposed to be in school. Anyways, it's a Sunday, and I never wanted to be associated with your truancy.
Hi, Sam.
Hi, Ethan.
Yeah, actually, I wake up early enough that I didn't have to skip school to call you up.
Well, I appreciate that, but, now you can sleep in, buddy.
Yeah. With the surrender to George Bush bill or let 4,000 Americans die in Iraq bill. No, wait, that isn't it. What was that bill that Congress passed?
You're talking about the Iraq supplemental.
Yeah, that one. Yeah. It just seems to me that there might have been like some, it seems like the only credible answer for some of the votes might have been like bribery. What do you think about that?
Well, no, I don't think it was bribery. I think, look, okay. the problem is that you have so many of these professional politicians, this professional political class and media class that has these built-in assumptions about how the American public will react, and they have been wrong time and time again. And I'm talking about the DLC types. I'm talking about the Bob Shrum types. I'm talking about the Bob Kerrey types. And, we'll go over that in a moment. But this whole attitude out there, there was some poll out there, Ethan, that was saying that right now 44% of those polled, as opposed to 34%, blame the Democrats for keeping funding for the troops. Look, the bottom line is the American public is 68% now, I think, want withdrawal from Iraq. The question is, what level of passion do they have? And I think it's going to take the leadership of the Democratic Party to stand up and explain to the American public that this must end now and why it's important and what they're doing. That's the only way that the American public is going to become more passionate about wanting to end this war. Intellectually, they're there. Emotionally, they're there, but they don't think about it, the vast majority of Americans, until somebody asks them a poll question. And that's just that. I mean, that's just the unfortunate situation. Now, I'm not, and it's absolutely wrong, I think, for the Democrats to say that we can just sort of meander along here and, but I hope people understand that, look, there are problems in both parties. Yeah. And the Democrats aren't going to do anything that we don't make them do. But I share your sentiments, Ethan, and, I don't know what's going to change that, but.
Just seems like they're going to wait till September, and then September, Petraeus is going to say, well, it's really going to start working, just give us to the end of the year. Then they're going to go and 100 more American soldiers are going to die, and then we'll have the debate that should have been going on 3 years ago about withdrawing again.
Yeah.
And then they're going to, and it just seems like it'll end up like this, a cycle. So next year will be almost a mirror of this year.
Well, Ethan, I mean, I hold out some hope, but unfortunately, I think you are acute and intelligent enough to know that that's probably what's going to be the case. It's going to be, and I appreciate the call, buddy. It's going to be another situation where, come September, they're going to say, well, they're the schools. Or they're going to come up with some other lie. Or it's only been since June since we had all the troops there. The only other possibility is that come September, there becomes too many Republicans who fear that this is going to hurt them in their election in 2008. And that they will signal to the Democrats that, yes, we'll follow you on this. I'm not saying that's going to happen. And if I had to bet, I would say it's not going to happen. But that's more than likely. Ted in Washington, D.C., welcome to the program, Ted.
Sam?
Ted?
Watching the Republicans debate, I noticed that they all were eager, except for Ron Paul, were eager to go to war with Iran. Mm-hmm. And they're never asked, how are you going to pay for that? Where are you going to get the men, the equipment from? They're never asked how we're paying for this war we got now.
Well, Ted, what the question they weren't asked was, why do you think we can win? I mean, why do you think that? I mean, what exactly what would be the goal? What would be the end game? Well, what would be the strategy?
That's a good question, but my reason that it came to me was whenever you see Russ or anybody interview a Democrat, and the Democrat says, I want health care for all kids, they say, how are you going to get the money?
Yeah, exactly.
Republicans are never asked, how are you going to pay for this?
No, of course not. I mean, listen, it was Fox News, the Republican debate, so they're never going to get that question.
Well,
but
even Russert will ask any Democrat, how are you going to pay for this program you want? He will never ask that.
Yeah, Russert really grilled Richardson today in a way that I never see him grill. And frankly, Richardson did a pretty good job. But you're absolutely right, Ted.
He only grills Democrats. And mostly, even I've seen him grill Al Sharpton like that.
Yeah, well, of course.
A few other people.
Well, listen, the bottom line is you've got this media aristocracy there, and they can get away with it. It's all about their peers. I mean, they don't work in service of the American public.
Absolutely.
I appreciate the call,
and
Ted.
Somebody's got to ask the Republicans, how are you going to pay for this? Somebody has got this in the press has got to ask them, how do you plan to pay for some of this?
Well, Ted, I mean, they're never going to answer that question. I mean, that's just I appreciate the call, but they're never going to answer that question. And frankly, that's not even relevant. If we need to, if we're in a situation where our security is contingent upon it, we borrow the money. But the real question is why? Why would you attack Iran? How would that work? Every single expert. And apparently, if you believe Steve Clemens in the Washington Note, he's got a report on this. The Joint Chiefs of Staff said, look, attacking Iran, it's a loser. We get nowhere with this. We cannot achieve the goals that you hope to achieve by attacking Iran, which is supposedly to stop their nuclear weapons program, which, of course, the IAEA's report has been completely misreported in the mainstream press. This notion that they are somehow a year off from developing a nuclear weapon, again, it's a lie. Diana in Dallas, Texas, welcome to the program, Diana. Diana.
Yes.
You're on the program.
Thank you.
Thank you for calling.
Well, you were talking about the bill that just passed, and no one seems to mention too much that the minimum wage passed with it. Is that correct?
Yeah, they did. They put that in as essentially as a portion of the bill, and it did pass. That is true.
So there's nothing else that needs to be done. It's going to happen.
Yes, the minimum wage, there is going to be a minimum wage increase.
Okay, but so we don't want to celebrate that too much. First of all, that would make the GOP look good. Plus, we can understand there's the theory that you don't want to negotiate with the lives. But here I am, I want to say what shouldn't be said, that I think the troops that die from now on, I think this was negotiated with the Democrats for a minimum wage, and these troops are probably dying for a minimum wage now and that may be a higher calling than what they've died for before. But when you say, the Democrats lost on this, I think the Democrats ought to be jumping up and down saying, no, we won, but they've got to keep quiet. And of course, I think in a way you could say, hey, we've got this administration where we want them. Every time we want something, we can go, okay, well, you can have another 2 months. And, yeah, that's negotiating with lives. I understand that. But look what they've done.
Well, I mean, look, Diana, I mean, I appreciate your point on this. And, yes, they got that was one thing to sweeten the pot, I guess, for Democrats to vote for this by adding the minimum wage. But frankly, again, you're negotiating with lives. And I think, the occupation of Iraq is probably the single most pertinent issue that is facing this country right now. And, I mean, how many lives have to be lost over the course of the next 3 months? I mean, if someone said to me, all right, look, there's a guarantee that in September they're going to have a withdrawal bill, then maybe there's an argument there, Diana. But in 2 years, you're going to have a Democratic president, 2.5 years, and they're not going to veto a minimum wage bill. And when it comes to weighing whether or not you need a minimum wage bill now versus an end to this occupation of Iraq now, I'm sorry, I got to go with the end to occupation. I mean, I see what you're saying. There are Democrats out there who are saying we won. I don't really quite understand what they're basing that on. But I guess time will tell. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll be talking to Marcos Malitsis, and then we will take more of your calls. I know we got people hanging on there. I appreciate it. We'll be right back.
Sam Seder. He puts the truth inside your radio.